All right.
Absolutely.
Stop my share here because it is 1 o'clock, everyone. So it's 1 o'clock East Coast time. For those of you just joining us, welcome. This is the BHIS webcast today, and we have got a great crew of folks. I'm Ian Meyer. I'm one of your hosts in the background, along with Deb the Deb, who you all know from Discord fame. We got Ryan in the background doing all the things that make us sound good and look good. And the other folks here, we've got John Strand, who is the owner, founder, and chief crazy officer of BHIS. We got Kent over here who's going to be playing along, Jordan as well, Derek, Ashley, all of them working through the challenges here with their IR and penetration testing skills, but some of them might actually be some of the characters that you're going to meet during this webinar. We got Ben as well. Ben helped build a lot of this. So if you find this very, very interesting, give them a shout out and say thank you, because they went and got a lot of the stuff going. We already used Deb, you are Jason-less today.
So I am Jason-less, yes.
All Jason-less today. By the way, he is on Discord. Can everyone on Discord send him warm well wishes and let him know that he is missed?
Yes, and that he is an awesome human. And then last but certainly not least, we have Cameron and Jake Williams down here, who are also going to be joining along. And before we get started here, I just want to remind everyone that has joined at 1, please join us over in the BHIS Discord, because as we play through this game, you will have the opportunity to be interactive. You will be able to work through the same challenges that this team is working through, and you can listen along, you can see what they're seeing, and as new things are exposed, you will get a link to actually try and investigate that evidence, because that's what we're doing today. We are going to play through an incident, a little bit of radio play, a little bit of critical role, a little bit of role play, a little bit of improv, a little bit of pure absolute BHIS insanity and magic. And we're going to walk you through it. So is everybody ready here? Everyone know what's going on and ready to go?
All right.
As ready as we'll ever be, Ian.
Ready as you'll ever be. So for those of us who are not playing along, or you find some of this as well, I do want to drop one more thing for the folks that are online with us. We do have you, if at the end of this you go, wow, this was amazing, I really want more. Well, guess what? Every Tuesday and Thursday, we have webcasts. We have our BHIS Anti-Cast, where you can learn more about BHIS anti-siphon instructors and what they've got coming up. And as well, we've got a summit coming up. The Blue Team Summit, just like our Red Team Summit that we did, the most offensive con ever. If you joined along with Randy the Hackerman Savage, we're going to be doing a Blue Team Summit in August. Free talks again, low-cost training. If you like hanging out with us, well, there's going to be a couple days of hanging out with us. So please join us. You can check that out at antisiphontraining.com and register for that. So at this point, you don't want to hear anything more from me, because we got more interesting things to talk about. So John, am I handing off to you, or are you going to take the lead here?
I'm going to take the lead from here. All right. Thank you so much, Ian. And everybody, except for Kent and Jordan, are to AV mute right now. We will bring in a couple of people as needed. So kill your cameras and we will bring you in as inject. So what exactly is happening today? Well, we've been talking with Jason and Ian and a bunch of the team. We really are huge fans of Critical Role, and we've been trying to figure out a way that we can incorporate and do something where it's not just do exactly what they do, but try to do something a little bit different. And we came up with an idea, and that is what we are doing here. For those of you that are not familiar, the way it's going to work is I'm going to be the incident master. We're going to be bringing in people to play characters. And we're going to start out with the 2 characters of Kent and Jordan, who are employees of BHIS and anti-siphon instructors. And they're going to be playing the roles of the owner and the lead tech of an MSP. I'm going to give them some information about a possible incident, and then they're going to kind of set the tone as far as what technical things are going to be done to deal with this. But here's the deal. They're not actually going to do the work. You are going to do the work. So if you look at the chat of Zoom, you can see that we have provided a link to you that gets you to Discord. Discord is absolutely essential, because that is where I'm going to be dropping evidence files. They're not crazy evidence files, but I'm going to be dropping evidence files, and you're going to work the evidence. And Kent and Jordan and other people who may be joining in will be asking you to do that work. You're going to be taking the role of an analyst, looking at the log file that I share with you in Discord and on Zoom. If you're getting this on YouTube, The links to the evidence in the walkthrough is down below in the comments for this particular video. So you can come back and you can play it later as well. So the workflow is somebody in the game has you, all 743 of you that are currently logged in live, says, go do this. And then I'm going to give you the file. And then on Discord, you're going to answer those questions. You're going to find out what is actually going on in the log files. And I prefer screenshots. I love call outs. I love explanations. Do that inside of Discord and share those screenshots and quick explanations. I'm not so interested in just the answer, but how you came about getting that answer with full screenshots. So we're going to kick this off. Like I said, it's very, very casual on how this works. So I'm going to start with the starting position in the scenario. Kent and Jordan are going to have a conversation about it, playing the roles of characters. Now, I should also warn you that we've given people kind of a character profile. So if somebody comes in and is kind of like an a-hole, that's because that's their character profile, or they just really suck at acting, and that's in fact who they are. But they're going to be playing characters. So don't take anything that they say as like, they're an idiot, they don't know what they're talking about, because literally we ask them to be a curmudgeon, we ask them to be dumb, we ask them to be a variety of things as we play these games. Why not both, I suppose? All right, so gentlemen, are you ready? Are you ready to start the scenario?
Go.
So Kent, you are the owner of an MSP, correct?
Yep, I'm an owner of, it's called Red Prox.
Red Prox MSP.
Yeah.
There we go. Red Prox. If there was only a website for Red Prox. And Jordan, you are Kent's right-hand man. You are the most technical person at this company. Now, starting out the scenario, both of you come in on a Monday morning, and one of your analysts, the analyst's name is, I've got it right here, Paul Bowman. One of the analysts at your MSP came in and was just getting coffee and was talking to both of you and said, hey, you know, guys, it's so weird. Like this weekend, I was supposed to be on call and I noticed I wasn't getting any text messages. And I noticed that my phone stopped working. My text messages stopped coming through. And like my full cell wireless plan was completely busted. And I went in, and it turns out, I don't know how this happens, right? I mean, AT&T, what are you going to do? But the AT&T rep told me that I had called in and transferred my phone to a different phone. And I don't remember doing that. Like I said, crazy weekend, guys. So you get that dropped on your plate as a steamy pile of crap on Monday. What do you think it is, and how do you work it?
It's a little scary. So first thought, I'd have to ask Paul to make sure he paid his bill, but it sounds like he already talked to AT&T and got that covered. Yeah. My second thought is he might have been drinking too much. It's possible. I mean, you know, we've heard about like SIM attacks, but they're like state level stuff. Like it doesn't happen to companies like us. And I don't know, hopefully he got it worked out. We really need him on call next month, so he better get his phone working by then. That's kind of my thought right now.
So I've known you two for a long time, and I've never known Jordan to not disagree and argue with you on some fashion or another.
Yeah,
Jordan,
he's 100% wrong. The first thing I went to was his wife was ready to leave him. So she called and set it up, and she wanted to get him off the plan, kicked him off. That was my first theory. Second theory, unfortunately for Mr. Bowman, is that somebody actually came after him, and that maybe he had pissed off the wrong actor doing something online, or who knows. Maybe we actually became targets of a nation state. You know, those who run large infrastructures for managed services have been attacked in the future, Kent. And as you can see, I got a
question for both of you. Why would a nation state? You're a small MSP. Why would a nation state be interested in attacking your MSP? This seems ridiculous to me. Like
that's
why?
fair. That's fair. There are some power grids in this area. Who knows? Maybe we've got one of them as a customer.
Yeah, but we don't publicly list who our customers are. Like
I'm merely postulating here the possibility that maybe somebody actually came after us.
Since I can do whatever the hell I want in this game because I'm the incident master, Jordan just pulled some marketing material and it listed on your website. There's a link called Our Customers, and it lists all of your customers, including one of the power grid customers.
You approved this policy, Kent. This is your fault. So.
Okay,
sorry.
dude. Dude, just approving any random thing, that's cutting a little bit too close to the bone for me. Okay. So
Yeah,
not supposed to make
exactly.
this personal at all. So it turns out
You
that you
wanted to
might,
get to the golf course.
yeah. So I guess, whenever we're looking at this, like you clearly have some interesting customers, power grid, things like that. Where the hell would we go to try to figure out if there was an actual attack? I mean, clearly you talked to his wife about his marital status. So well done on that HR disaster. But what would be some other things that we could look at?
Well, I mean, obviously, we have done like this is a firewall cert up here. So I have hardened all of our firewall inbound services. I've taken care of everything. So nothing is exposed on our infrastructure. But we could go look at like our Microsoft footprint. There is that possibility that somebody interacted with our services in a way that was unexpected. So maybe we should check out our Azure and Microsoft logs. What do you think?
Yeah, do we have all the logs set up for that we can do that?
I don't know. The ones that you said we should, right?
Yeah.
Again, check boxes.
I like how he's
Some
trying
were
to put it on the
disapproved.
owner, the ones that you wanted to pay for.
Yeah,
When-
exactly.
So
You
I mean-
denied E5, by the way. So we have E3 licensing, but I'm not sure we've got the full security stack. We're going to have to find out here real quick.
All right.
So
yeah,
are we
maybe we
ready
should.
to task the minions?
Yeah, I
Yeah,
think
absolutely.
I
All right,
think we better
folks,
take
I
a
am
look at
dropping the
those logs.
first link in. Tell the minions what they need to do, everybody.
Somebody pin that too, please.
I'm
So
putting
in,
it in
in
Zoom
theory,
as
there may
well.
be some evidence in these log files that include, interaction with our users. If we were targeted, you might see something like a password spray. But Kent, if you recall, I think you did allow me to enable smart lockout. So there might be some of that stuff, denying users. We should have caught and filtered all of that traffic.
Yeah, we didn't audit
Somebody
yet,
should
but
be able to
we
prove
should
it.
have it enabled. If we don't, we need to enable it now. But yeah,
A
it should
two-factor
be.
protects you from everything.
It
Always.
does. Always
Well, that
has.
is true. That is
All right,
true. Jordan.
everybody.
Remember, we have MFA on everywhere, on all of our products.
So flying monkeys, we just gave you the evidence files in Discord and in Zoom. And if you're looking at this in YouTube, we've got the links down below. Go fly, my monkeys, fly. It's time for you to go and look at the file that we just gave. And in Discord, let us know what you see as the possible attack out there as well.
So
So-
this
Yeah.
one's interesting. Somebody suggested a DC sync attack. And if Paul has DC sync privileges, I need to be fired. This cert right here says that nobody should have DC sync, except for those who need it and on demand. So there is that possibility that this happened. But if so, I would definitely question my employment with your company.
All right.
So
We
what do you
have
have here?
Smithereens is saying that there's multiple failed login attempts from one IP address. I'm going to need a little bit more than that.
Yeah, I'm not
The
seeing that one
Carsanda
either.
is saying lots of failures from 20.25.46.88.
And who's Dale Clydes, Kent? Can you tell me who that user is?
Yeah, it's one of our techs, I think.
Yeah.
Or was that a fake admin account? Like we had a fake
we'd have to go
user,
back
like a
and
honey
look.
account, maybe?
Oh, that's right. We did. The security team did deploy that with your guidance there.
Yeah, that
That's
was good that
fair,
they added
yeah,
that
okay.
in. Now, we've got a lot of people saying it's an automated brute force attempt, password spray. I think that they're getting it, but I got people that are saying it was stopped. Was this
That's fair.
successful or was this failed? I
And
don't.
I mean that's possible, right? The smart
Yeah.
lockout should have
Happens all
done
the
its
time.
job.
Like we know that when something's on the internet, people are going to attack it, and that's why we have like things like smart lockout enabled. And I mean, we use strong passwords, so we're all right.
You
There's no
hired
problem.
incredibly competent technical staff, and I'm bringing in my text to validate here. It looks like we're clean, so it might not be and what we think it is. Is that possible?
Yeah, we still need Paul to figure out his phone, but yeah, I think we're. I'm not too worried yet.
You're
This looks
not-
all
I'm
right.
not either. I haven't seen anything concerning in these logs.
It's just internet doing internet things, spraying.
Yep. That constant noise you see.
Uh-oh. We're starting to get some things on Discord. MBR is saying Bowman has been compromised. Why do you think that Bowman has been compromised?
Yeah, what's the evidence here? I'm
Yeah,
not
we're
seeing
gonna need
it.
some evidence on that, folks. Like, I mean, Bowman's
Yeah.
definitely sus with his SIM swapping on that as well. So
That's pretty nerve-wracking. Okay, hang on. What do we have there? Paul Bowman, member, none, Azure portal, strong authentication required. Uh-oh.
Uh-oh.
So-
Wait. What does that mean?
That means somebody tried to authenticate potentially as Paul. They either phished his credentials from him or guessed them, and then logged in and were prompted for MFA. So
Wait,
what is it?
but he's the one that had the AT&T thing, right?
Yeah, that's an
Oh,
odd
okay.
IP. Can anybody tell me about that IP address showing up there? Because that's not one of our trust IPs. I don't recognize that at all. The potential here is that Paul was either guessed or compromised somewhere else, and then in theory, holy cow, push. He may have denied authentication, but then they went after him.
I think that unpinned 0509, if you can look at that, it says, and I'm going to share my screen real quick. This, I think that
Sure.
everybody needs to look at this real fast.
I just found a scary link from a Mandian article. I'm going to go ahead and drop in here.
Here we go. It says, due to a configuration
Uh-oh.
change by your administrator or because you move to a location, you must use multi-factor authentication to access this resource. Error validating credentials. That correct me if I'm wrong, but doesn't that mean that they got a valid user ID and password and it was pushing them to MFA?
Sure did. And then they tried to log in from DigitalOcean. So might have proxied their traffic, might have done something weird, and they're coming from somewhere else. Yeah,
So
that's not very promising. I'm
That's
nervous
not good
now.
at all.
I am officially nervous.
That seems bad. All right. So we've got a bunch of people. We got Riza is getting this as well, looking at the DigitalOcean information, looking good.
What do you
What's that?
What do you think? Should we pull our endpoint logs?
We better ask Paul really quick just to make sure it wasn't him. I'm kind of concerned, but there's still a chance we're okay. We got to ask Paul.
Let's pull in Ben Bowman to pretend to be Paul Bowman. Is
There you
Ben
go.
here? Wait a minute, I got to do it. So Paul Bowman, thank you for joining. I got a question that I think that your two bosses would like to ask you about. One, your marital status, and two, like what's possibly going on with these logs.
Did you log in over the weekend? This looks kind of strange. Not sure what happened here.
No, I was off all weekend. I didn't log in at all. Why?
Looks like somebody logged in as you over the weekend.
How
I don't
long?
remember logging in.
Hey, you got a strong password, right?
Yeah, it was.
Don't tell me, but it's strong, right? It's like good.
Yeah,
No one's gonna guess it.
It was okay by my standards.
Okay.
Well, does it meet the password policy? It's 10 characters, right? With a special and an upper and a number?
Yeah, it's got that.
Okay, good. Then it's a good password. So
Sidebar for everybody, as I'm the incident master, his password was summer 2023 exclamation point, and it met all the requirements. So, yeah. So,
is that true? Can you confirm whether or not that was true? Is that your password?
It met all the requirements. Yep,
Yeah,
I made sure I
okay.
did it right.
And you didn't log in this weekend.
No, but my phone went dead.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
We need to see endpoint logs pretty much immediately. We got a problem.
All right, everybody, are you ready to look at some endpoint logs? Who here, as an attendee of this webcast, is ready for some endpoint logs? So let me bring up the endpoint logs right here.
Hopefully the staff finds nothing, Jordan. We don't want to see anything in there. I'm concerned. We got to get
No,
Paul to change his
no.
password right away. And
Here comes
What
the
else
endpoint
might have
logs.
happened though? Should
I'm gonna
we
pin it.
drop email logs too? Did you send any email over the weekend? Would
No, I was on vacation this weekend. I didn't touch my computer at all.
okay.
All right.
Ken, do you have access? Can we drop email logs at the same time? This might help us put together if anything interesting happened.
Yeah, if there's email logs in there, we better check that stuff out. Hopefully we don't find a compromise. If we do, we're going to be in need of some help, I think.
So the
This should
question
give us enough
is,
time.
do you
Very
all
good.
have email logs?
Well, yeah.
Well, we've got E3
Of course.
licensing. I don't know. Did you set that up? I didn't set that up.
I mean, it was the guy
What's
before
the
you.
default posture for email logs?
No, man, it was when we first started. Okay, no, we'll check.
Now that we're huge, should we go back and turn that up a little bit?
It's fine. It's fine. We're good. We're good. We're
Cool.
good.
Well,
Just let's go. Let's see what we can find. We got to find something. We just got to rule out that anything bad happened. If it's ruled out, we're good, and we're just gonna put this to bed.
Yep. I'm sure everything is totally fine. There's
We're
nothing
fine.
to
Yeah.
worry about.
we've got great EDR. We've got, Defender ATP, or no, we've got just vanilla Defender? We using Defender?
Yeah. It's fine. It's what we have on all of our customers. It's
That's
fine.
right. You denied ATP because of the cost.
Well, you know what our budget looks like, Jordan.
Fair. I shouldn't laugh at that.
Oh no. I think we all need to look at cyber synapses. Cyber synapses, when we're looking at the execution logs on this system, he just noticed that there's a piece of executable that just hit called super specialized highly advanced malware bypasser 2.exe.
Oh no.
There's no way. This is a joke, right? Is this an intern kind of joke? Seriously?
I'm pinning it. No. So if we can get some confirmation from the rest of the, okay, can we get some confirmation from other people? Do they also see super advanced malware bypasser 2?
Super. Who comes up with these names? It's not even legit. It's got to be.
No
you know
way.
what that is? One of our techs is probably like trying to like circumvent the screen lock, and they put on like a mouse mover app. That's all it is. It's fine.
Yeah,
So,
exactly.
Not only, it's just for the record, not only do we have super advanced malware bypasser 2.exe on your network, it's not even on Mr. Bowman's computer system.
No, I just saw Henry Butler. What is that? Why did Henry run that?
That's
I thought,
bad.
and that's very bad. He was also on call.
All right.
Did he get an email? What
It
evidence
is
do we have
time,
here?
by the way, for our first inject of the day. So I'm going to do the Wonder Woman thing. And we have Mr. Jake Williams coming in, who is one of your customers, who unfortunately was having a printer problem talking to one of your techs at your MSP. And while he was talking to one of your techs, an intern by the name of ASOC, intern ASOC said, dude, I don't know if you've heard yet, but we totally got an incident here. Like one of our people, like their phones got hacked, and yeah, it's bad. Have you heard that yet? And now he's calling y'all looking for some answers. So
Yeah.
big.
Listen, we take the security of our customers very seriously. That's the first thing you need to know about our group. Do you take the security of your customers seriously? Why weren't we notified about the incident?
Absolutely, Mr. Williams. I want you to know we're taking care of it right now. We've got our best people on it. We're still in preliminary investigation. As of right now, we don't have anything concrete that says that there was really any issues at all that's going to be impacting any of our customers. It's an isolated issue. I want you to know we're taking a look at it really closely. And right now, we don't see anything that needs to be of cause of concern at all. There's no reason to panic about it. And we're definitely looking into it.
Yeah,
You can
understand
obviously
your
see I'm
concern.
concerned. As you can see, I left a child's birthday party to, engage in this session with you. When will I hear more about this incident?
As soon as we find out something that's concrete, we'll let you know. If we find out that there's nothing to worry about whatsoever, I'll also give you a call personally to make sure that you're comfortable with what's going on. But right now, there's no reason to be concerned. I want you to just go back to the birthday party, enjoy your time. I will call you if there's any news that is a cause of concern for you.
Yeah, and please let me reiterate. We have no evidence that any of our customers, especially your organization, but any of our customers, we have no evidence that any of you have been laterally compromised.
Okay.
Yet.
All right. I'm not feeling great about this, but I'm going to let you continue on with your investigation with your minions of investigators there. Thanks.
We've got several. Thanks, Jake.
Yep. Thank you. Is it time to call IR? I'm a little nervous.
Yeah, now that we see lateral movement there, I think we probably need to start this being a legitimate incident. And yeah, frankly, we probably need to get some help on this. We haven't been through one of these before, so maybe we need to get an expert at this.
I think it's time to do the Wonder Woman thing again and invoke the amazing consultant coming in at $895 an hour, Derek Banks. There we go.
Sounds like that y'all got the bro rate at $895.
Yeah.
So, just saying. I guess we've done business with you in the past. And so thanks for giving me those log files. And I got to say that one that was labeled CSV, that's not a CSV. That's just text file. So, and the dust settles from all this is a lessons learned. We got to talk about log collection and how we're going to get better file output for easier processing.
Thank you. Yeah, this vendor right here told me that everything was fine in their CSV
Yeah,
upload,
yeah,
normalized
yeah.
like
You
everyone
know,
else
the
is.
vendors that sometimes, you can only export log files to PDF. Yeah, sometimes you gotta stay away from those.
Okay, there, fair.
Yeah.
If you could give us some guidance to
Yeah,
pass
so I
back to
got
them.
the too long didn't read version, and I think that we need to take a more in-depth look at that system that had the malware was run. I heard you gathered some log files, and I think that I'd be real concerned at this point that the attacker has pivoted to different machines, and so that really we need to take kind of a comprehensive look at systems where that user is authenticated and any other users that are associated. We need to get those log files and we need to take a look at those.
Well, I'm a little nervous because I don't know really what all that entails. What does that mean? Like we
Right,
saw that
right.
Henry ran it, but
Yeah, so
what would
what we can
happen then?
do is we can help you out. We'll deploy a tool. We like to use Velociraptor, and we'll gather that information back for you. We'll just give you an MSI to deploy.
Sure. Should the techs should keep digging here? It looks like our techs are still digging.
Yeah. So usually the way we like to run these is if you're in the middle of doing your own investigation, it's a collaborative effort. We're here to support you and your team, and we'd like to actually meet with them and have work together and get through this. So we're here to support you.
Hey, Derek, I'm the owner. I'm kind of worried. I'm still optimistic that this is just like a non-issue whatsoever and just goes away, but kind of tell me like long plan, what's our worst case scenario here we might need to plan for.
Yeah, so we need to really kind of figure out like what the attacker was doing. We need to figure out like where they got to and kind of work like forward and backwards, see what happened and like where they went from the point that we're at right now. And so yeah, I mean, I'm not going to lie to you. You have reason to be concerned. The things that I've seen so far, with that malware that's running, we'll start helping you take a look more in depth of that malware later. But for now, let's kind of see what systems were pivoted to and what we might see in the log files that we're gathering from the endpoints.
All right.
So at this point, would you like me to give some endpoint log files?
Yeah, I think that's probably a good idea. We need to take a look and see potentially what other lateral movement, what applications might have been accessed. Because a lot of times what we see now is, you get to a machine, usually attacker has a goal in mind. Like I want to get to like this application where the sensitive data is. And for you as an MSP, like what you do for business in terms of interacting with your customers, I'd be kind of suspicious about those kinds of applications. So let's go ahead and take a look at those log files.
Yeah, we really don't want them in any of those systems.
Yeah, no, that would be very bad.
Okay, I just shared the next log file. It is on Discord, and I just shared it inside of Zoom. So minions, go minion and tell us what's going on that file.
So that's also kind of nerve-wracking. Looks like somebody accessed Henry's cookies journal. Isn't that not good?
That is not
Derek,
good.
Maybe you can give us a little bit more information. Are we missing any logs here? What didn't we give you?
Well, so there's kind of a gap in what I've seen so far from like initial access and how the malware was actually run, right? Like, so we see that, there was some password spraying, a successful authentication into Azure, into the Microsoft ecosystem. So how did they take that and how did they get that down into your environment?
Okay.
And run an executable? Like there's like that, because one doesn't equate to the other. There has to be some kind of synchronization, some kind of social engineering, something like that would occur to get internal access. And there's some pieces that are missing here.
Okay, we did put one exception in our last SOC audit where we allow OneDrive synchronization to local file shares. So if the user was compromised, is it possible that somebody placed an artifact in their OneDrive?
It is possible. It is possible.
We probably wouldn't have those logs either without E5, would we?
I do not believe that is the case. So from it is my understanding. Now I'll admit that Microsoft's ecosystem changes, I'd say daily, but it's probably more like secondly. And so, as far as I know, that information isn't going to be in the unified audit log until you get an E5 license. However, if you could pull exchange logs, starting in like 2019, Microsoft, for all Exchange Online, they enabled logging for all of Exchange Online for all mailboxes. My guess is because of pressure from business email compromise. The thing is that you can't always easily get to that in the web portal. And typically what you want to do is use something like PowerShell to programmatically access that. Now there's some open source tools that are out there that do that. We also have some proprietary stuff that, that we use internally to get those logs. So we could help you take a look for that. That's probably going to be something that we're going to have to circle back around to, though.
Okay.
I'm more concerned at this point in time of what the attacker did, what the actions that they took, what their objectives are, so to speak. Like, let's figure that out, and then we'll kind of, because at this point it doesn't really matter how they got in. We need to make sure that we verify containment, because right now what I'm hearing, I haven't heard that the attacker that they're not still in. We need to contain what's happened.
Do you want to talk about our antivirus and stuff, Kent? I think we're good there.
Yeah, I mean, we've got industry antivirus, we've got logging in place. We're doing the best practices. I mean, we're an MSP. We have to make money, so we can't get like the best of the best. But
Narrator Inject, they run Panda.
Listen, I don't want anyone to criticize the AV we use. It is an industry standard. Lots of MSPs are doing it. Exactly. And it gives us a single pane of glass, ability to look at everything and manage things. It's fine. It's not that big of a deal.
Just curious, does the Panda install Disable Defender? Because that's always my favorite when third.
Yeah, that's how like when we do install it in our client networks. Yeah, it's gotta so otherwise it conflicts and stuff. And
sure.
The sales guy told me it was fine.
Yeah.
I agree. Yeah. And when I got through, you can't see it because it's up here, but when I got through their little cert program, it was awesome. Like it convinced me that I should recommend it.
99.9% of all malware with advanced AI, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. How did you know that term? And they use machine learning too, I think. I heard that.
Jordan is an expert at it. It's because of him that we got the great discount that we did because he's certified with the product. So I'm not worried about the product at all.
Exactly.
All right.
Listen,
I think we need to kind of like regroup here. I see Paul and I see Henry. Like, this doesn't look so bad. Like, we can get those account passwords changed if we need to.
Yeah.
I love right?
Kent's like, no. It's not horrible yet.
No, it's fine. And I've only seen a couple systems in here. Hopefully that's all right, right? We saw Paul's login. We saw Henry having some issues, but I haven't seen that anything else was wrong yet.
Derek, should we get those things like offline right now, or what should we do?
It looks like that there's it looks like that there's some output coming from our technicians here.
Okay, I want to pause for a couple seconds before we get to that, and kind of go through a little bit of where we're at, because we've done a lot very fast, so the actors can take a beat. So if we're going through what we have, is we know that we have an initial intrusion. Because if you look at the Azure activity logs, you see multiple failed login attempts against multiple different user accounts, all coming from the exact same IP address. All right. So we have this 20.25.46.88, multiple failed login attempts from that IP address. That in and of itself is not a concern at this stage. What is a concern is whenever you successfully authenticate with a user ID and password, even if multi-factor is enabled, you can enumerate user IDs and passwords, but not gain access. And you will see in the logs, due to a configuration change by the administrator, or because you've moved to a new location, you must now use multi-factor authentication.
Yeah, of course. We implemented basic conditional access.
Basic conditional access and multi-factor, which unfortunately appears to have been undermined because somebody did SIM swapping, where they basically moved Paul Bowman's SIM to a different phone so they could get those two-factor authentication requests.
How would they do that? There's no way.
There's no way, right? The next thing that we see is if we look at the actual logs from one of the systems on the inside of the environment, if you go through the process names on a completely different user's account, you can see that Henry Butler was loading from a shared file, super specialized, highly advanced malware bypasser2.exe. Now, to be completely clear, you are absolutely missing some connective tissues. We are missing some logs. There's been some conversations about, is the right logging enabled? Is the right logging not enabled? But this is what we've got. I know some of the participants are like, we should check the email logs, but they don't appear to have the logs that they need in that scenario. So that is where, oh, no, we got one more. The next one, looking at Henry's computer system, if we look in depth at his computer system and see, did that highly super specialized malware do anything? We can see that super specialized, highly advanced malware bypasser2.exe is accessing the cookies for Google. So that is our mid-break kind of breakdown of where we are at this point right now. So we're going to hand it back over to the actors, and please continue with our narrative journey.
So yeah, I don't want you to worry because missing log files is something that is very common in incidents. I mean, these are, all IT systems are complex and held together with baling wire and duct tape and a little bit of chewing gum in there. And so sometimes you find during an incident that you're not getting the right logs, and very common for this to happen. And I also like to say that kudos for logging event 4663. That's not commonly logged locally. And in this case, that's, definitely helping us out in this log.
Excellent. Yeah, of course. We were told it's a noisy log and we could filter appropriately, but we used a very expensive SIM and we send them everything we've got and they want everything. And that's where a lot of our budget is spent.
I say, and the executives appreciate that.
Wish we had more logs for you there, but yeah, this Jordan, one of the texts that cookies journal thing with the file, the malware, is this, how big of a concern is this for us?
I don't know. What can you do with cookie theft? Like, what are they trying to do here? Derek, can you help us with that from an incident?
Yeah,
like,
there was actually there was somebody who posted a bit ago. I scrolled way up in Discord. They seem to be on the right track. Usually when an attacker is going after cookies, it's a lot of the apps that we use these days are web-based, and I'm sure that a lot of the apps you use now are web-based. And when an attacker is going after cookies, typically they're going after these kind of web apps. So do you have any critical web applications that you use that this particular user would?
Yeah, I mean, our SIM, our antivirus, our RMM tool for all of our customers' access, it's all web-based.
Yeah,
everything's web-based now.
Yeah.
You're saying that they could have.
That doesn't sound good. But hang on. Do we have enough evidence to call Mr. Williams and tell him that we have no evidence that he's been compromised? Are we okay with that?
And it just so happens that Mr. Williams just showed back up demanding answers. Jake? We lost Jake.
No,
I'm relieved.
I don't think we did.
You didn't lose me. Sadly, Zoom lost me. So we are. The Zoom controls disappeared. But I am extremely concerned. As you can see, again, I've now left my traumatized child's birthday party again to get more information on where are we specifically.
Yeah.
We still have no evidence that you were compromised.
Mr. Williams, I want you to know, still no evidence that you need to be concerned. I do want to be transparent with you. We have opened an incident. We have hired a retainer for an incident consultant, and they're assisting us with some things that are really looking at our internal processes. And as of yet, not a concern for you. But again, we're taking this very seriously. We're hiring experts, bringing them in. We're looking at logs. And right now, I just want to be clear, nothing of concern for you.
So I was asking your printer tech that was over here, and he was explaining this to me almost like a landlord relationship, right? Where apparently you're some kind of tenant and occupying a bunch of my Microsoft 365 that you sold me, and he's saying it's all compromised, and man, I'm going to evict that if you don't get what's going on.
No, I understand. You have a right to be concerned with what our tech is telling you. Unfortunately, the information he gave you is not quite accurate. He
Don't
is,
employ idiots.
Wait,
No,
That's
inject,
hold
not-
on.
inject. The tech shared screenshots of the password spray with Jake and explained to him what the attack was.
It is possible that we were targeted, sir. Please, we understand your frustration. We hear your concerns. First and foremost, we are still working diligently. We're paying somebody $895 an hour to hang out with us and teach us more about incident response. But truly, we still have no evidence that anything has moved beyond the trouble we're dealing with internally. We have reset the passwords on those accounts. We've shut down some of our access, and we're working toward improving our logging so we can see this in advance with E5 licensing. So we're working diligently, sir.
Well, look, either I need more renters in my tenants or I need you to evict them through my tenants. I just want everything to work the way that it did before. That's all I care about.
absolutely. We're no impact for you, sir.
We'll see.
Oh,
He's mad, Jordan.
He sounded cold. Or what do we do now?
We got to get this taken care of.
I'm in danger.
All right. So the cookies thing, like we need to know, like, did they
Yeah,
use
how do
that
we
against
track
us?
that?
What's going on?
What's next?
I think we need to look at all those.
If only
tools.
there was an expert who could answer that question for us.
I think
Yeah,
y'all
what-
slashdotted GitHub, by the way. Like I can't use it at the moment. That's hilarious.
I'm actually a little bit worried. Like,
That's
I
hilarious.
seriously, I cannot get to GitHub either.
I know, right?
I think
How did you break GitHub?
I don't know how
Things
I
we didn't plan for, right? Yeah,
Like-
breaking GitHub.
isn't GitHub
The
kind of
hug of death?
Isn't this not supposed to be possible? Like,
Microsoft heard we were
oh
talking
no,
about
it is
their,
down. It is down. Oh my gosh. All right. So I'm gonna
Drop the
share.
tip.
We got backups. We got backups.
I was gonna
We
say,
got
does
backups.
anybody have the next log file?
I do. Just give me a second. Here we go. It's coming up on Discord.
So,
We
This has
totally
made
brought
my
down
day.
Discord.
Hey guys,
Totally brought down
wouldn't it be
GitHub.
crazy if our attacker just happened to pivot to GitHub?
Oh my gosh.
no, we don't use GitHub internally.
No, and they
Oh,
can
We
maybe take it
write
down all
code that we get
Microsoft.
paid for.
All right. I'm uploading the log file here in just a second. Oh, that is not what I wanted.
So
That
I
was-
guess it's possible that like that section of GitHub's on like some endpoints and like in some region in Azure, and we broke it with.
All
How many
right.
people are in this?
Just uploaded the
8,000
files,
people?
everybody. So I just uploaded and pinned the GitHub, or sorry, not GitHub logs. I don't have logs for what's going on at GitHub right now. It's only one of the most heavily used tech like code repository. It is the most heavily used, and we brought it down.
God.
Oh my God. So I just uploaded the logs for the RMM tool. And people, if you see, go ahead and open those up and see if you can figure out just how bad this actually is. File that under an oopsie.
I'm still a little nervous. What would Henry have access to in the RMM, Kent?
Well, he's one of our techs who works with all of our customers. So, I mean, potentially he's not an admin in it, but he potentially could, remote connect to all of our customers. He's got access to the password manager that's attached to it.
So he's got tech permissions. Can he edit, modify policies? Is it possible for him to push changes?
Maybe. I mean, he's one that does with our Windows updates and everything too. So he's got to be able to have the ability to change policies for our customers. So it's possible, but
Okay.
I mean, I don't know. What are you guys seeing?
That's
Uh-oh.
a good question. The techs they're still digging into this advanced EDR bypasser. I'm not convinced that it's been contained. Let's just say that.
Yeah. So let me ask you this: does the user in question with the stolen cookies have the ability to run things through the RMM?
Oh yeah. Like that's
Yeah,
how
that's sort of the point,
absolutely.
right?
Just-
all of our techs do.
Yeah.
Why wouldn't they?
just.
That's
I
our
mean,
job.
he helps Jake all the time installing printers, so we do that
And printer
remotely as much
drivers
as possible.
specifically.
Yeah, printer drivers.
Yeah. So yeah, you can run EXEs through the RMM. It's just,
Are you suggesting? Are you suggesting that someone could have accessed his account and then launched payloads elsewhere, like
That
launched a piece
is-
of malware
that-
everywhere.
That is my suggestion, and I think that is what the log files are suggesting,
That's
or
not good.
showing rather. So speculation's good. And this point, like I wouldn't speculate it. It kind of looks like that. And so at this point, I would recommend that we do some more forensics on that server class system and
Okay.
figure out what happened further. And as a side note, if we were using real log file sizes and interspersed with all the noise and how large those were, we'd have broken GitHub in lab 1.
Yeah.
Because I would like to, for the audience, if you're not aware, usually in incidents when we get these log files, these are severely parsed down and showing what the log file would look like potentially, but not the same size. As I was saying, I don't know if it's pre-show banter or before. We had a customer one time who had gave us a 250 meg JSON file, which is a lot of JSON in text. So you have to, when you get into doing incident response, you'll get into the habit of parsing a lot of text. And there's lots of nifty tips and tricks in our training to help you along that way.
All right.
I just I wasn't going to share these logs because they're so sensitive and they're from our firewalls, outbound firewalls. It looks like there were some connections made to AWS CloudFront. Why would that happen? Or maybe Azure from a CDN perspective, it looks like. Have you seen anything like this before?
So you're saying you have unexpected connections to CDN systems from an internal system, and there's like a lot of stuff going on. It looks like these are maybe direct connections to like random string of characters .cloudfront.net, something like that.
Yeah, I see a few of those.
Yeah, so it turns out in the way that these CDNs work, attackers use them as well. And a lot of the times, usually attackers, they want to obfuscate their infrastructure. As we saw before in the first lab, that IP address or the first set of log files, that IP address the attacker was using was from DigitalOcean. And I find it unlikely that your tech is accessing resources from a DigitalOcean machine. Likely the attacker is using VPC and VPS type stuff. They could also be using CDNs to run their command and control from their malware. And that would be what I would suspect. Do you have anything in place to monitor network traffic? And I'll pause right here and say, I know you don't, right? Because
why would we do that? There's so much traffic.
Yeah. EDR has basically told everybody they don't need to monitor the network anymore, and
exactly.
That is a false
I think we were
assumption.
told that.
Yeah, I'm sure that you
The
were
sales
told
reps
that.
the sales reps at Panda.
Yeah, we'll cover 99.9% of all cases, so we're in the 0.001, right? And really, why you need to have network monitoring in place and network logging is for where did the attacker connect and did they exfiltrate any data? You can't really answer that.
What's a good tool that can help us with that, Derek?
That's a fantastic question. I like to recommend Zeek because it is open source. And while it may be a little difficult to get up and running in some circumstances, by and large, I like Zeek. And but there are some problems. There are some caveats with this, right? So what you want to do in this day and age is use network monitoring for strategic internal stuff like your workstations and things that are on premise, because there are some real issues with network monitoring in the cloud, and it's not always effective. Running Zeek in the cloud is not something that's really, I don't want to say it's not possible. It is possible.
One of my techs just said we could get Zeek with Defender ATP now. Can we get that licensing approved and get upgraded here pretty quick, sir?
Did they already implement that? I didn't know.
Man, we're gonna have to, aren't we?
I don't think it's implemented yet. Yeah.
Hey, Jordan,
It
just
is
see
not.
one of the texts just posted something about custom2.exe. What's that about? What's going on?
That's a good question. There's lots of twos, and I don't understand this.
Yeah. Where's the one?
Yeah, exactly.
One was testing.
Yeah. So. All right, everybody. That's it. Close and scene. All right. So for the people that were doing this and working through the logs, once again, we're sorry that GitHub went down, but we were able to get the files to you. When it comes up, Ben actually did a fantastic write-up of each one of the log files. I just posted it again, and I'm going to repin it again. So whenever GitHub comes back up, you'll be able to go through with full descriptions and explanations of what we did here for these things. And yes, I went to the website,
It's all of
down for
GitHub.
everyone or just me. GitHub is down. And it's also a little bit uncomfortable. It says for me, if I refresh the page, it says GitHub has been down for at least 30 minutes, which may or may not be the first lab file I shared out. I hope it wasn't us. Like Jake, I don't know your thoughts. Like
I'm getting the same thing as it turns out, and I was not actively downloading the files. This is not it's not an IP address block, right?
No.
Something broke.
And it's not our repository, because that was one of the things I was thinking, is that they would just shut it down for my stuff. They didn't do that. But yeah, we're getting errors. And it looks like people in other parts of the world, it looks like it's okay. But I really hope it wasn't us. I hope it was just serendipitous. It went down, but I find a little bit uncomfortable that 800 people working on a lab may bring GitHub
That's
down.
what I was going to say. If 800 people working on a lab can bring down GitHub, Microsoft needs to get its priorities straight.
I'm
Like,
super happy that I don't have to have that next phone call with Jake. So
I mean, if you think about it, right, they had the DDoS that wasn't for the Azure control panel, right? And then swept that under the rug in their blog post without mentioning it, kind of thing. So why not this? Why not GitHub?
Yeah, just keep it rolling.
Yeah.
So whenever we're talking about logs, one of the things I wanted to get across for this, and Jake, we can come back, Ben, Ashley, everyone kind of come back now. We're kind of doing the post thing. Just let's ask the students in Discord, how screwed do you think this company is? Like on a scale of 1 to 10, totally quite pretty hosed, 10, 11 out of 10, everything's on fire. Yeah, it's bad. Now I've got a question for you. How likely of an attack do you think this is?
I've worked this incident.
I was going to say, I've actually been a red teamer, almost done this minus the sim cloning, right? Like
there was a recent attack of a YouTube channel about 3 months ago, somewhere in there, a very large YouTube channel that had a very similar process.
John, do you remember the Poison the Well webcast?
Mm-hmm. I do.
That one, we had found we had such a large organization, we had such a huge user base that we were able to have enough to say that about 10% of people were accepting push notifications from us. So we would get valid accounts, we would immediately push, and some of them would just say, yeah, okay, God, why am I getting this?
Yeah, I once again, this is bad. And the thing that I hate the most about this scenario that we just did is there is no successful conclusion. Like this isn't like there is no happy ending. If you're an MSP, I'm just going to throw this out there. You're probably going to end up losing a lot of money, if even staying in business. And like Jake said, we worked these incidents, and a lot of these companies, they do not stay up and running. And if we look at what did this company do wrong? Like for those of you, the panelists, like what are the things that they did wrong that they could have done better?
Almost always boils down to password policy for me. I think I told somebody that this morning. Like your most significant finding in most of our reports should be the password policy, because we are not doing good enough across the board.
Do we want to talk about like our typical recommendations for password policies then?
Yeah, absolutely. Go ahead, Ashley.
Oh, I wasn't volunteering.
oh,
You are volunteering.
I mean,
So,
I think if I recall correctly, it's at least 15 characters, and we suggest if we're going to do 15 character passwords that, setting those for a longer amount of time is fine. So no 90-day expiration for 15 character password.
Yeah.
yeah.
But
So
we still come back to the sim cloning. And Jordan, I wanted to ask you and Kent about this, because I did this presentation at a conference, and the SMS push notification, Microsoft quote unquote fixed it like the day before I went on stage, and you said they didn't quite fix it. What do you mean? What did you mean?
That's fair. They implemented a 2-digit validation code. So it's still a push. It still comes through my phone. And if I recall, I have 3 options to click, like 18, 23, or 29. One of those is presented on the end user side. One of them is presented on your, and all 3 are presented on the MFA device.
Jordan,
So
this morning
click
it
the right one.
required me to enter the actual numbers. It didn't give me a choice. I had to enter the numbers that were displayed.
Wait, is this for SMS? Is this for the app though?
App. This is push, app
Yeah.
push.
Yeah.
So I'm pretty sure that if you're using an app and you go to a new phone and get a new card, since I just did this and it broke all of my MFA, if you're using the app, you're in a lot better shape than if you're getting SMS messages, right? Because I just went through this pain because I forgot to transfer all my stuff before I wiped my old phone like a dumbass.
Yeah.
So yeah, if you clone a sim, I don't think you get the apps, right? So if you're using, I would recommend app usage.
And that's one of the things that Google's been doing, right? You know, go to YouTube and enter in these characters, right?
Yeah.
Now I got a question with all of those different controls. If somebody's able to get access to the endpoint and I get your cookies, does that matter?
Cookies are issued post MFA. So no, it does not matter, right? The session IDs are generated after a successful logon, which makes a userland beacon so interesting if you get a user with access to anything.
So what happens if you have a compromised user in this scenario and you change their password? Are you done?
It depends on the product. You know, ideally, the product will invalidate all previous sessions. And some applications will give you the option. You go to change your password, say, do you want to log out of all these other sessions? But if it does not, if it's not programmed to do that, all of those previous sessions are going to live until they time out.
Exactly. I've actually had that happen on a test in the past too, where the user I was, you know, that I had compromised, they changed the password, but the tokens were still good for like 15 days. So, oopsie.
Yeah, Facebook doesn't want your session cookies to ever expire. So
Yeah,
they're not
well,
alone.
you know.
Your
Yeah.
bank might force expiry, but
And I think that, you know, the thing that sucks about this is a lot of people would be like, well, the RMM tool, is there a vulnerability in that? No, that's
No,
literally,
it's not the RMM tool.
yeah, it's literally the way websites work. Like, you know,
Yeah.
once I get those session identifiers, you're in a bad place at that.
which is why refresh tokens with like device code phishing is so useful, because you can pack that refresh token into anything and use it.
Now, one of the things that people started doing like right away, and I somewhat agree, but I want to get like Jake, I want to throw this one to you. At what point in this entire process would you start playing containment?
Yikes. Probably not even a point that we got to. I mean, definitely disable an account, right? But when it comes to like blocking IP address or trying to nuke malware, I don't want to get in a street fight with a threat actor. You know, I want to have a pretty good idea that, you know, at least an hour and give me some time to identify the backup command and control, because you know the old rule, right? 2 is 1, 1 is none, right?
Yeah.
So if we only have one, we probably don't have it, and in which case all we're doing is tipping our hand to the threat actor.
And that's something that I see a lot of people that are new to IR, as soon as they see a successful login, they're like, well, let's start locking down that system. And one of the things we've taught for, I think it's like 17 years now, Jake, is
Something like that.
Don't pull the trigger on that unless you are damn sure that you have a good idea of where the attacker is, their persistent access, their backup channels, what they do and do not have access to. Because if you screw that up, man, it's going to bite you in the ass.
Yeah, it
really
also
hard.
seems like to me though, almost all the incidents that we get called into, they've already taken a lot of these actions, right? They're isolating machines, and it seems like a lot of times, you know, we ask them what's happened, and you can tell they got to a point where they were in over their head and then called for help.
Right.
So
Yeah. Consistently, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So a couple of things. Heaven Sent said he disagrees, and I have nothing but the utmost respect for Heaven Sent, by the way. So I'm expecting a write up from him, because that is a valid approach, because he's seen things. And then we have Sir Immutable said, is there anything in cookies that can make them invalid if the text, the IP address is shifting? And I think to answer that, look at how like cell phones work, right? A lot of people are very mobile. their IP addresses are changing constantly, right? So if you try to tie it to something like IP address, that's actually very ephemeral, and you'd be forcing people to re-log in. And anybody that's lived with a Microsoft suite of tools on their phone know how miserable that is to constantly have to re-authenticate. However, you can associate it with multiple attributes to do browser fingerprinting, to fingerprint the device in ways more than just the IP address, but that's a longer conversation.
I've also had luck, finding, certain sections of the internet are commonly used, it seems. Certain ASNs, certain cloud providers, VPNs. It seems, that threat actors like to use those things almost all the time, right? So
Thanks,
I tend
Jake.
to go look, I kind of, off the top of, like the list, hey, let's see what the IP addresses are and like bulk look them up. And if it's CloudVitter, like for example, out of Germany, well, that's probably not cool.
Yeah. We have T. Schindler said, do you recommend deploying Velociraptor to workstations or to have it in place when you need it to do IR?
So I don't know that there's a right answer to that. I prefer to deploy EDR type tools that are more meant for monitoring as like my wide scale approach. And I prefer to deploy Velociraptor as I need to do a more in-depth investigation on top of that. I'm not saying that pre-deploying Velociraptor is not the right way. I don't think it's designed to be like a monitoring tool the way that it works. It's more of an evidence gathering and investigation tool. So I like to deploy it kind of like on demand, so to speak.
Yep. All right.
One thing we haven't touched on, and hopefully we can make this quick. We may have got lucky here. Somebody reporting a ridiculous thing that happened over the weekend. But is time to detection going down yet, Derek?
Yes, absolutely. I think the current stat that I read was like 12 days. What was it when I first started at Black Hills? 6 years. I don't know. Like it was like something like really discouraging. I mean, look, I know we like bash on EDRs a lot. And I kind of still look at it as like I looked at antivirus way back in the day, right? Even though it can kind of help catch like, new stuff, it's still, in my opinion, very signature based. I still look at it as kind of like AV, and we're inoculating against known bad stuff and techniques, right? But I mean, I've seen a lot of things just in the last 6 months where I'm like, man, that is some creative crap the attacker just did. And, and I've even seen attackers recently staying off endpoints altogether and still having success through apps and APIs.
Yeah.
So
we need to be drawing this to a close. People are asking if there is a part 2. We created a part 2, but I'm going to leave it to Discord. Do you want us to get this format? I know it was probably clunky this first time, but I had a good time.
This was fantastic.
The answer is yes, John.
And okay, we'll continue.
We don't have slow mode on.
I am going to change the evidence files. We'll probably continue to have GitHub pages where people can go and view the write-up, but I think I'm going to move the evidence files to like S3 buckets or something, because I am terrified that I literally just brought GitHub down with a webcast.
It's a heck of a coincidence.
It is a heck of a, it started 10 minutes in when we shared the first evidence file is when GitHub started having issues.
D-Rock calling anybody with Microsoft on the line?
I don't want to be
calling D-Rock.
Yeah, and they're probably going to like lock out my GitHub repository, like just like nuke it.
John, before we drop off, there were a couple questions over in the QA chat as well that I can feed to y'all real quick as we wrap.
Sure,
up.
let's go ahead and let's take that. But if you got to go, folks, bail.
Yeah, no, that's generally what we end up doing here. So yeah, thank you for joining us. If you're within the hour and you got to get back to work, you got to go do something else, you got to jump to another meeting. Thank you for joining us. We had a good time, and we're going to do some more of this, but we're going to stick around for a couple minutes and wrap up this QA. And so there was a couple things here. What were some of the tools that y'all use? So any tools that you guys use to analyze those log files in CSV format that came from an anonymous attendee?
So the CSV format. So basically the way that it was created, Ben was just pulling flat text files down and then also shrinking those files down to the thing that's the most interesting. As everybody had mentioned, a lot of times we get log files, they're monsters, right? And it takes a lot more time to process, but trying to set up a 1-hour webcast like this, we wanted to make it very tight and very obvious as far as what the problems were Because instead of like, here's the IR process and all this, we wanted to expose people to like, the problems, the thought process, the worry. When do you bring in a consultant? You have a customer that comes in to try that narrative across. But once again, folks, a round of applause for Ben, who I think just did a fantastic job creating log files that were right where they needed to be.
So for tools for processing text, I usually start at the command line, but with large data, even the command line you can struggle. I like the EZ tools. Timeline Explorer is very good. There's an open source TAD viewer that's similar in that you can look at large database or large text files. But at the end of the day, depending on how much data you have, you might have to use a database, or I like Time Sketch a whole lot for series large data. And a lot of this is in my training class. Shameless self.
Yeah.
Something that I just want to say is like there is better ways to analyze files. Used Notepad is because that is what's readily available to anyone who wants to pick this up.
I'm telling you, this was perfect, right? Because when we come in and do IRs, we are handed all kinds of things that aren't what we would gather or expect. It is consistently consistent, right?
So kind of moving through this, Alicia Smith asked a different question. Would a hardware security token like a YubiKey have cut off this attack?
Yes, no, maybe so. So let me go with yes. The YubiKey I want to start out with saying is awesome, right? It is fantastic hardware-based authentication. However, whenever you set that up, you need to make sure that you set it up so other forms of authentication are also not allowed. So if it's set up, you have YubiKey, and in your configurations, you can do YubiKey, SMS-based authentication, all these other ones. While the YubiKey is nice, those other authentication points exist. We also have created tools. There's a number of one of them we created was by Mike Felch called CredKing. And whenever it does man-in-the-middle proxying of authentication, it goes to a service and says, I am an iPad, I am an Android phone. And basically the service on the other side says, well, you can't support a YubiKey then, so I'm not even going to look. So it is fantastic. It is really, really, really good. However, it is not a foolproof 100% shot that's going to like lock everything down. There are still some bypasses that exist. And I know that that's a typical red teamer answer. Like, yeah, we could still hack it, but it does raise the bar significantly. Go ahead, Jordan.
It does, yeah. And then assume you get sent to a credential phishing page, or one of your employees who's maybe not quite as aware as those of us who live in this insanely paranoid state. One of your employees gets sent to a credential phishing page that looks a lot like Microsoft. On the back end, we're simply MITM proxying your YubiKeys. We get the authentication material on the other side. You validly MFA for us. So these are attacks we pull off, on occasion when we need to, step our game up. And another thing I thought Mike had worked on a year or two ago was a YubiKey push runner, where he would accept those MFA pushes and then force them around to the targeted service. So yeah, he's somebody who dabbles on that very high end of adversarial activity. And he's got some really cool stuff too.
The same individual, Alicia Smith, also said, can you set it so if the user's password gets reset, it automatically closes any sessions and the session cookies? You're talking about cookie time.
Yeah, you can do that in Azure. Yeah. That's application specific. Like Azure, you can basically say they have to re-authenticate to absolutely everything. But there are services where you can change a password. I'll just use like Netflix or something like that. And those previous session identifiers are still valid.
All right. We got a couple more questions, then we'll wrap this thing up here. David O'Neill, would you want to make sure that you know where the attacker's coming in and if they have a backdoor before locking it down to the primary connection or lock it down right away? And John's already nodding, but what's the answer? Yes.
I really wish that Bill could have came in because he has a different take. But my take is, whenever you move in a way that you're completely sure that you're not completely, but as sure as you can possibly be, to try to lock the attacker out. Failure to prevent reinfection is one of the most common things in incident response that we see all the time, where like Derek was talking about, customers do stuff, right? but what they did was incomplete and it didn't really shut down a secondary backdoor that the attacker had, or they didn't fundamentally understand what the attacker had access to. They think it's a workstation. They try to isolate the workstation, but the attacker had access to Office 365 and they could use a manifest XML file to propagate their malware across any system that logs into the email. So there's a lot of reasons why I say that. And like I said, I would have loved to have gotten Heaven Sent to come in and kind of talk about it as well. But there are different opinions on that. But my personal take is, and I'd love to hear anybody else that's on the webcast, try to be as sure as you can before you lock the attackers out.
Don, I have one question that I think we kind of touched on. Derek kind of mentioned that we might not have had all of the logs readily available, yet we were at that point consulting. At what point is it appropriate to bring in an IR expert to help you through those? And then the follow-up question, did we bring enough for them?
Is that a
I think
question
it's
for me?
Yeah, Derek, why don't you take that one?
I don't think there's a right answer. I like the idea of evaluating your internal strengths and weaknesses. And do you have the skills to fully respond to an incident? If you don't, then go for a third-party retainer to give you like surge support, and find a company that will help you rather than it's all our stuff. Like we come in, we'll do the whole thing, because you want to learn, right? And so that's how we approach it. I'm not saying you work side by side with us, but I really do like it when there are boots on the ground, so to speak, to help us out. So instead of when do you call in, I would actually, if you feel like you're going to be in that point, I would suggest getting a retainer with a company.
Yeah, because you can get them in faster.
Yeah, and you, like with us, when we have a retainer, we start out some conversations like, what do your log files look like? What's your logging strategy? What does your environment look like? You have network diagrams and things like that. A lot of the things that we teach in our classes, we also, our clients, we have to eat our own dog food, right?
So having a retainer, you have already had that information. You would have already us to making sure we have the correct.
And that's one of the things that pisses me off IR firms is they'll get on every sit that are useful to us. And how do we communicate that? It's basically like, thank me. And then, so whenever we set up these relationships with our customers, we basically are like, do you have these logs? Do you have this capability? Better position. So if an incident does occur, we can quickly get access to what we need.
So we're also getting word that GitHub is back online. So I've actually dumped into the Discord chat and back into the Zoom chat for those who are like, but what happened? We want to know more. Ben's incredible write-up that you can go through and see exactly what happened and what tools and whatnot were used to discover this. Two last questions. One of them's actually one that I can answer. But the last question here from an anonymous attendee is, why wasn't the IR incident response plan brought out?
That is a
doesn't exist.
Point.
Yeah,
that's like step 0 in the prep phase, right? So an IR policy, or plans and procedures are something that we would like to be in place, but as John mentioned, it's especially with folks who aren't our retainer customers, they tend not to have them. So
yeah. All right, so we'll answer one last question here and wrap up, and it's one again from Alicia Smith. So if we didn't get to your question, very much apologize. We will hopefully do another one of these, and definitely check out the write-up there. So because your answer might be inside of there to help that out. So the last question here is this sounded a lot like a tabletop exercise, and Alicia Smith says, any tips for creating our own IR tabletop exercise? Well, oh my gosh,
just serving it up on a platter.
Yeah. One, I have to go 3 ways here. One, Black Hills can always run a tabletop exercise for you. I'm one of the individuals that helps run that along with many of the people on the phone here. But if you want to run your own, yes, we have our Backdoors and Breaches game online, play.backdoorsandbreaches.com. We also have several GitHub sites with some campaigns that you can run in that. But I've had on my radar for a while, Alicia, running a webinar like this that is my rules for running a tabletop exercise and making it effective and resonate. So we'll likely get that on the calendar here pretty soon. As we wrap up, I do want to share again, don't forget, coming up here in August. If you liked all of this banter and you liked everything that you heard, well, come hang out with us more in August. We're going to be doing a Blue Team Summit where you can check out those talks. And frankly, there's about 543 of you here still listening to us go on. So I'm betting that you probably like us and we like you. So come hang out with us. You can come listen to free talks, or you can get really great low cost and affordable training from some of the faces that you see right here. But hey, if August is too soon for you, well, we'd love to see you either online or out in Deadwood. Coming up in 109 days, and boy, are tickets going fast. We have Wild West Hackin' Fest, where we will have training, we will have talks, we will have hugs, we will have not hugs if you're not into that, and lots of other surprises out in Deadwood. So please come join us out in the Wild West while we hack all the things. Gentlemen and ladies and everyone, any final thoughts?
I can sleep now.
Yeah.
I guess my only thing, and I said this in Discord, is if there's anything but a good takeaway to take away from this, when was the last time y'all tested your business continuity plan and went through an IR, tabletop exercise internally? Test that stuff, because if there is an incident, or when there is an incident, it's important.
Yep.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
According to the audit, it was today.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Somebody at GitHub was dusting that off just a few seconds ago. They were like,
Right.
So yeah, so if any of these things sounded interesting, if you want us to run a tabletop exercise, if you're interested in us reviewing your policies and procedures, if you want to get one of those incident response retainers, like Derek said, reach out to us at consulting@Black Hills Information Security, blackhillsinfosec.com. You can go to our website, blackhillsinfosec.com as well. So for myself, Ian Meyer, and the rest of everyone here, John Strand and everyone, thank you for joining us. We'll do more of these soon. Ryan, please kill it with fire.